November 14, 2022, Operations Committee to order, please. We'll start with a prayer by Commissioner Allen and pledge of allegiance by Commissioner Palmer.
Bow our heads. Dear Lord, thank you for allowing us to meet together to conduct this county's business, Lord. We also thank you for the opportunity that we have to serve the great citizens of Anderson County. And we thank you, Lord, for each and every family here that we represent out in the county. And we also ask that you bless each and every family, Lord, and bless them and their endeavors. We also pray, Lord, for wisdom. Grant us wisdom as we conduct this county's business. We also ask a special prayer for Commissioner Robert McCamey, who is hospitalized and who is recovering, Lord. These things we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next is the approval of the agenda. Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to request that we add the donation of the surplus sheriff's vehicle to the city of Norris, and also request the authority for Anderson County Television to produce and broadcast an information piece on the new TCAT newsletter.
Under the Law Director.
Yes.
Okay, we'll have a motion. We have a second. Second. Any other discussion on the agenda?
So you can take off the two things with tourism and chamber.
Okay, we'll take off number one and number two, and we'll actually take that up in December. Okay. All right, any other changes, additions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Next is appearance of citizens. Do we have any citizens that would like to come before the committee? Seeing none, we'll move on. EMS Mission Statement Core Values presentation by Nathan Sweet, EMS Director.
Chairman, thank you for the time. This is not an actionable item, so you don't have to vote on it per se, but we wanted to take the opportunity. Our department has spent quite a bit of time, and really it's been on my heart for a number of years, to really update our mission statement and our values for the organization and actually make it a system-wide, organization-wide process. And so we took the time to do that. Getting the feedback from the staff, hearing the things that they value, the things that they want to see in the organization, but also relaying that back to the service that we provide, who we provide it to, who we provide it for. So we have opened that to our staff last month at one of our in-service trainings. We showed them our new mission statement, our new values for the company. We wanted to take the time to come to this body as we felt it was most appropriate for this body to share that with you all as well. I'm not super fancy when it comes to some presentations. I value the content sometimes more than maybe how things are presented per se. So I don't have fancy papers, but it is just printed out. And I would like to cover it if I can. Let me get one more. I'm gonna walk over there so Josh doesn't look like he wants to get up and walk all over there. No, you were gonna go. Okay. Next time I'll wait. But if you do, just give me a few moments to cover these for the committee, for anyone that is listening as well. So the mission statement for our organization is: we care for our community through healthcare, education, resources, and support. So I'd like to unpack that just a little bit. The shortened version is quite simple. Is going to be: we care for our community. And for me, some of the things that really stand out on that, first of all, is the word "our." It's an ownership word. It's I'm a part of. It is, we are in it together. We're involved. We're engaged. The second is the word care. Care is both a noun and a verb. Care is the actionable item of patient care or physical providing care for somebody in some way, but it's also the emotional, I care for somebody or something. So it's not just our hands-on medical care that we're providing, it's also the empathy, it's also going to be the fact that it matters. And then the word community. Quite easy to say, we're Anderson County EMS. Our community is Anderson County. Absolutely is. The citizens and the visitors and the travel-throughers and the people that work in this county, they are our community. But it doesn't stop there. For my organization, the community is my coworkers. It's the paramedics, EMTs, it's the other admin personnel. That's my community as well. But my community is also the public safety entities of this county, the law enforcement, the fire department. They're my community as well. So community is so multifaceted, it really broadens who we are here to care for, who we're to be involved with. And really that second part of healthcare, education, resources, and support, basically everything we've got, everything that we are afforded the responsibility to have, we're going to use it to care for our community. That's going to be what we do and have the emphasis on that. So that is the mission statement for Anderson County EMS. The values, we have 5 values: integrity, team, serve, empathy, and progressive. And really talking to our staff, these are the things that they valued in our organization that were already there. Maybe some of them weren't spelled out as well. And you could see under each one of those values is a definition of what that value looks like. What that value should look like when we're making decisions, when I'm making decisions at a department head, when they're making decisions in patient care or decisions through their work processes. So if I can, is we have integrity by being honest in what we say and what we do. We have integrity by being accountable to each other, regardless of rank or position. That's not what matters, is that we're accountable to each other. We have integrity by being dependable. When anybody in our community needs us, they can depend on us. We have integrity by being responsible adults, being responsible with what we have, our resources, our decisions, our abilities. We are a team who is supportive. Again, we're going to support our community, our coworkers, our other agencies we work with. We're going to be supportive. We're a team who's going to be encouraging, not tearing people down, but trying to build people up. We are a team who is respectful. Sometimes respect means you have to be able to step out and tell somebody something they don't want to hear. But you respect somebody by telling them what they need to know. We are a team who is honoring to our service, honoring to our calling, honoring to our abilities and what we're called to do. We serve others before self by being trustworthy. When we're called, they can trust that we're going to respond. We serve others before self by being humble. It's not about us. We were not created for us. It is not about us. We serve others before self by being empowering, letting people to develop, to grow, to become better, give them those opportunities, empower them to make those choices. We serve others before self by being willing to go the extra mile. It's not just, hey, we need you to do this, or this is what's needed of you. I'm going to go past that. I'm going to push beyond that. We practice empathy by advocating for others. Oftentimes, we advocate for our patients. We advocate with other healthcare providers. We advocate with people that are in their life. We do that quite often, but also for our coworkers and other agencies. We practice empathy by listening. We've all have probably heard it. We got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Sometimes we just need to shut up and listen. We practice empathy by being compassionate. There are a lot of people that we encounter that it's quite easy to say they did this to themselves, they made those choices. But we're going to be compassionate because it's not for us to judge them, which leads to the next one. We practice empathy by withholding judgment. One thing, you go on these calls and you encounter these people that are in difficult situations, it's mind-blowing sometimes to listen to these people and the story that they have and really just, realize that it's not always a choice that puts them in certain situations, or it's not easy just to wake up and snap out of it. And we're going to be progressive by practicing forward thinking. Although we can look in the past of what we have done, absolutely. Don't want to repeat the past if it didn't work. But we also need to continue to think forward. Things change all the time. What 2019 looks a whole lot different now when you're looking through the lens of 2020 and what we've encountered over the last 2 years. We are progressive by seeking personal growth. Although we're going to grow as a team, as an organization, you have to grow as an individual for a team to grow as well. We're progressive by striving for excellence in all that we do. And we're progressive by being solutions-oriented. Problems are just an opportunity to create solutions and to get better. And that we have to have that mindset. So again, this is the document. We spent time, as I said before, talking with our staff. And we've unleashed this document for our organization. And we'll be making it very public. But as I've told my staff, a presentation is great. I'm super excited to get this information out. I was super excited when this was drafted and I had it written out and I had it in front of me and sharing it with people, but a presentation doesn't get you anywhere. It's the work. The work you have to do, the work that I have to do, that my staff has to do, that's really what makes this thing matter, is putting it into action. I also told my staff, you saw nowhere on here being perfect. I do not demand perfection. First of all, because I'm far from perfect. So I couldn't demand something that I could never achieve, but perfect is just not real. It's not reality. This is a journey. This is why it's a mission statement. It's not an ending statement. This is a mission. We are something we are pursuing after. We are growing into. We are achieving. It's out in front of us. It's our target, and we need to shoot for it. Are we going to mess up? We are. We're all human. Are we going to fall short at times? Sure. We can't repeat falling short. You can't repeat the same mistakes over and over and over again. That's what we have in front of us. Let's not repeat. Let's push to do better, to be better, to serve our county, our community better in every single way. Lot to grow with there, but I am very excited about this. I hope you can sense that, but I wanted to take the opportunity and let this body know that we've updated those, which was very much in need. So like I said, no action item per se, but I just wanted to share that with y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nathan, I really appreciate this. And I tell you, when I was in college, my favorite professor was a guy that he did not require a book or even us to take notes. He was a storyteller. And that was the most I've ever learned in my entire life.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on the bright lights and the presentations, man. And one thing I want to say just really quick is it's not just thank you to you, but thank you to your staff. Since '85 that I can even recall, when they saved my grandmother's life when she went into cardiac arrest, up to when they saved my dad's life when he had a heart attack. All of the good things that you all have done and the way that all of the victories you celebrated, I've been most impressed, and it sounds bad, I hope it doesn't sound bad, because even in the times of loss, of the way that they treated people and the way that their compassion, and they didn't have to stay as long as they did with the family, or they didn't have to follow back up with them a week later. Those are the things, man, that just, if your family's been impacted by it, that you'll just never forget. And you've got a great
Yes, sir.
group of people on those ambulances.
Yes, sir.
And man, I tell you, you should be proud of the people you have because they represent Anderson County so well.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Completely agree. Thank you.
Commissioner Palmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had the opportunity to see you in action just this week and some of your staff. And I saw these adjectives there. That willingness to go the extra mile was was key. And thank you to your staff, thank you to you, and I think this is great, but I think that you've got a lot of this already going for you. It's
Yes, ma'am.
great.
Commissioner Allen?
Thank you, Nathan. This is excellent. I gave you a grade on it, A plus. There it is there, yes. This is very, very good, because it does show how focused you are on doing the right things. And my question is, how will you continue to promote this? Will you have little cards that the people can carry, or will it be on your website, webpage somewhere? Because this really does need to be out there for everyone to see every time they encounter one of your people. This
Yeah.
is fantastic.
Well, and if you get any opportunity to hear me talk with people, you'll start to hear a lot of these words repeated quite frequently. It is currently on our website.
Yes.
It is not front and center on the website, so we've maybe got to do some cleaning up
Right
there.
front, brother.
Correct. It does have its own tab for people to click on, but I know for our organization, as I told my staff, it's great to post things up on the wall or have a tag on my email or something to that extent, but for my organization, they're just going to see it. They're going to see it in action. They're going to. It's what I talk about sometimes being a lifestyle witness. It's going to be that.
Yeah, A plus, man.
Thank you, sir.
A plus.
Commissioner Anderson?
Thank you,
Chairman
Mr.
Anderson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Nathan, for the presentation. I appreciate that. Just out of curiosity, I know we were trending kind of upwards over the last 3 or 4 years with overdoses and Narcan being administered and stuff, and I hope you'd kind of been keeping the mayor updated on specific calls. Is that still, are we still trending upward? Is it leveled off, or what, is there new issues that you're seeing that you think
It's
know about?
it's really kind of leveled off at that high level. So we're talking 350, 400 a year, where prior to it was more like 150, 180 a year. So we're still quite a bit at that high level. I mean, it does come in waves. I know the mayor, she gets text messages every time from me, because I get a text message every time we go on an overdose. Now, that's when it comes into to dispatch as an overdose. Now, there's plenty of times we go on a call, the chief complaint was something else, and we got there and it was actually an overdose. So we're still trending at that high level.
Thanks.
Commissioner Yeager?
Jason, on the progressive one, the seeking personal growth, you also advocate professional growth too, right? You have,
Oh, yes,
that might
absolutely.
be something you might want to, or
You
not.
can't,
That's-
you
this
can't
is
make
yours,
edits.
But,
No, you can't.
what,
This was not an actionable item. Phil, and you're taking action right now.
what,
But I see what you're saying. Yes, sir. And under that striving for excellence as well, I think what you'll see, we do actually in our department, we have career development pathways.
okay,
And they get to choose, it's not mandatory, but they get to choose what their specialty is. And then we have 3 levels in each specialty and the required training from that. But that beyond that, even if they don't,
yeah,
I'm an educator at heart, and Bobby Joe is the best educator in the state. So when it comes to education and development on the career side, that in our organization, you pretty much have to.
okay, that's great, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Before the meeting, we had a conversation about response
Yes.
time. And would you care to go into, what sometimes the delays are? And, there's a lot of
Correct.
things I'm sure people at home don't realize.
Yes, so, and before the meeting, he just asked about situations where people may call 911 and be told that maybe the ambulances are delayed, long response times to that extent, which does happen. Unfortunately, it does happen. The volume-wise, we are higher than we were last year. So it comes down to, we have more calls. We have same amount of trucks on the road, and we have longer destination times at emergency departments. So when you factor those in, that all kind of boils into the situation of, there are times when people call and we don't have a resource right at that time to send them. So we call code white. Others may have heard as level 0, where you have 0 911 ambulances available to send to someone. That does happen. On average, that's about twice a day is when that happens right now. On average, that lasts for 9 minutes. At least looking at the month of October, it's 9 minutes on average. So that's an average. You know what that means. You have times it's longer and you have times it's shorter. So we saw in the month of October, I saw, I think 23 out of the 31 days, we had a level 0 code white event. So there were some days it didn't happen. And some of those was just a few minutes, and sometimes it was much longer. But again, that's only 911 trucks. So sometimes we have what we would call a BLS, a basic life support ambulance that might be available that is still dispatched to 911 calls. But when we're at these destination times at the hospital, man, if you really want to get rich quick, figure out a solution to that, and you will make a ton of money because every hospital is having this issue. We've had, the longest we've had, I think, was just over 8 hours that we had an ambulance stuck at an emergency room. It's nothing really. I think about over 50% of the time, it might be 60% of the time, it's over an hour that we're at these emergency departments. Which, if it's in Methodist, which has the highest volume for us, as soon as they go back in service, they're back in county. But when it's at UT and Park West and Turkey Creek, Tenova North is fairly close. We've got all that drive back, and sometimes you hit traffic. Now, most of it is during the day. The daytime hours, I look 8 to 8 p. Most of our volume for being lower levels is going to be during that time. But there are not often that I would say that if somebody calls and it's an emergency response, that they're waiting a very long amount of time. We do prioritize. Through our dispatch, they do prioritize. So there are people that call 911, it's prioritized as a non-emergency response. Well, we will hold those when our resources are low and we have a lot of emergencies going on for a period of time. And then if that time comes and we still don't have enough trucks in, we'll send even our last truck to that call. So we've had some adjustments with that, but that's often, we get calls for anything and everything. I mean, I've had people call for literally for paper cuts, for headaches, for finding a lump during a self-breast exam. I mean, and call 911 and they genuinely want to go to the emergency room, and we can't tell them no. We might give them some guidance and be like, hey, that's really not the place for you to go. Your primary care doctor or a specialist or somebody else is really, no, I want to go there. Okay. And oftentimes we'll take them to the emergency room, and sometimes we'll be able to take them straight to the lobby. But that's where people are going to see some of those delays. At the same time, if the truck is responding from one end of the county to the other, I mean, you're going to have the distance. Although we go lights and sirens and we go faster than the speed limit, that does not trim off a significant amount of time. It really doesn't. If you look at the studies, it usually trims off seconds, not minutes, when you look at it. So there's a lot of it that plays into. Staffing-wise, we've actually been pretty good. We don't shut down a 911 truck. We will use mandatory overtime for that. But our convalescent trucks, we might shut down one of those if we have call-ins for illness and injuries and stuff like that, people being out. Staffing-wise, we're doing really good. That really is not as much of an issue, other than I would like to have more trucks on the road. Really, the target is during the day. That was something that was submitted last budget process. We did submit to try and get 4 more people to put on another day truck, and we didn't get that funded. I'll be bringing that back next budget process to try and get that funded that way.
Hopefully, we won't forget this conversation when it comes back up. And for, the people at home, what he's talking about is when they pick up a patient and go to the emergency room, until the hospital actually takes over, you have to stay with them.
Yes. For the most part, by law, once we're on their campus, it is their patient. Now, again, the hospitals are our community, and we
Right.
want to partner with them as well. If we got a patient that is able to go to let's take them to the lobby. They can work the process there. We go back in service. Oftentimes, we have patients that are just sick enough that maybe they don't warrant the lobby. And we try to work with the facilities, and some facilities may take a little bit more advantage of that. And we actually, after an hour, I've issued to my staff, they can ask the patient if they want to go to a different hospital. Now, in the hospital world, that's a big no-no. But I'm not really in the hospital world. If they've waited that long, I'm being a patient advocate. And if the patient doesn't, which, hey, if they go to another hospital, they may just start that clock all over again.
Right.
If the patient doesn't, after about 15 minutes, we need to be asking, do we have a bed? Do we have a bed? After an hour and a half, as I've relayed to my staff, you need to find a bed and put the patient in it. But again, the problem becomes back is if this patient is sick enough, you can't even do that because there's no nurse, no doctor, nobody's going to be going and checking on them. So the possibility that we leave them and the patient get worse, we just don't feel like we can do that.
Yep.
So sometimes, yes, we absolutely get stuck. And sometimes we still have a patient on our stretcher and we're still treating them. I mean, we got to go back out to the truck and get supplies to bring into the hospital to continue to treat them. I do genuinely feel bad for hospitals. I mean, under the staffing issues that they have experienced, healthcare as a whole is dramatically different post-COVID. It has changed significantly, and on a staffing level, not in a good way. As healthcare as a whole, I mean, doctors, nurses, LPNs, I mean, pretty much at any level has taken a hit.
And one of the other conversations we had was we talked about how MedFlight has like an insurance policy where you become a member for $65 a year, and if it was possible for our ambulance service to be able to do that, because last year, we had several meetings, conversations about the cost.
Yes, sir.
Is that something that's doable?
So I refer to it as a membership program because there's a lot of ambulance
Right.
services that have that. We've talked, I mean, I know Natalie Erb and I, when she was here, we brought it up. I did plan to bring that back up January, February timeframe at Budget Committee. There's actually several things I was going to bring up on the financial side, but a membership program is something, it is legal. It has to be managed correctly. And the way the membership, if anyone doesn't know how that may work, is you sell a membership per household. You charge a certain amount on an annual rate, and what that does is if you were to call for an ambulance in an emergency, we would transport you, we'd bill your insurance, and then we'd write off the rest. And so you wouldn't have out of pocket. Now, anyone that's on Medicaid, you cannot, it's illegal to sell a membership to anyone that's on Medicaid. Makes sense because they have no out-of-pocket expense anyways. So you can't sell it to them. People that are uninsured, you would not have the liberty of billing insurance, but you might be able to charge them or give them a significant discount off of your rates if they did the membership as well. It's an annual membership. It's something that can be done. It takes time to build up because, again, if you market or sell it correctly, you have a number of households that buy it. You actually start to capture revenue that could offset maybe capital expenses or things of that nature. So it is something that I do plan to bring back up at Budget Committee, though.
Okay. Anything else for Nathan?
Just a really quick question.
Yes, sir.
Let's say if you've left the patient or they've come off the streets into Methodist. I've seen a lot of times on the CAD where they have been deemed the trauma issue where they've been sent to UT or something like that. Do you all cover that transport, or do they call out like an AMR?
Usually we do interfacility transfers, so we'll have several transfers that'll go from Methodist over to UT Medical Center, some strokes that may go to Fort Sanders. So we do handle that, yes.
How often does that happen though? Maybe y'all have already cleared the call and y'all are back out, but get called in to do a transport like that. Does it happen a lot?
It happens frequently, but oftentimes, so when a patient goes to Methodist, like we took a patient, usually our staffs were pretty good at taking them to the right destination
Yeah.
the first time. But if we have a patient that self-prevents or was brought in by someone else that maybe has a brain bleed or maybe having a stroke that's outside the window that Methodist can treat, they have to go through a whole process, and then they have to contact the facility for that facility to accept them. So once you've already presented to the hospital, you don't get to automatically say, well, I'd like to go, we need to send them to UT. UT gets to make the choice whether they accept them or not. And oftentimes they do, but I have seen situations where they don't, and people are now being transported to Vanderbilt or Erlanger or other places out of the area for a trauma center. But we handle those pretty much, especially the emergency ones. We handle all the emergency ones.
Gotcha, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Next is mayor's report.
So it's hard to follow Nathan. Also, just want to call out Scott and Bobby Joe are the two that went to Florida. So
Thank you.
really appreciate them. And if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, just a couple things based on the questions, following up on some of the EMS stuff here. One of the things that Nathan was talking about with the hospitals, this is yet another reason why community paramedicine makes sense. And I mean, for years we've been talking about it. They've been working on it. They're still working on it. There's real opportunities for even partnership with the hospitals because it would solve part of their problem. And then if you look at the overdose situation, a lot of the folks that, not all, but a lot that overdose are repeat overdose. And you can't go intervene. You see, they know who they are, they know the addresses. I'm getting the text now, I know the addresses, but we can't share that information. We can't go, do a door knock. With community paramedicine, it opens that up to where, they can go check on someone and maybe try to make a difference there. But, those calls, when we're talking about the financial side of things, you all passed a resolution last month that we sent up the chain asking for federal legislation to open up a grant program for EMS. We sent that on to Lieutenant Governor, our representatives, and the governor. They are often a forgotten agency, and there are a lot of people we treat where the county or the program never sees a dime. And one of the stats, and Nathan, you may want to shout it out here, but the number of folks that are just not private insurance, but just self-pay, that number is increasing. And that is not good, because what's the percentage of those who will pay if it's, it's,
The self-insured,
yeah, not self-insured, but just,
self-pay,
yes.
we average $45 per transport collecting for self-pay.
So, yeah.
And it costs probably $400 plus to do the transport.
Yeah.
And that's about 11% of our volume.
So anyhow, those are, all of those are things, if we can do more on, say, a community paramedicine side, or we can do more education, it also helps your bottom line. It sounds bad to discuss that, but that is a reality. How do we balance the care and the finances? But on my report, last month I shared with you the Anderson County logo. I told you I'd put it on again this month. I don't know if you're ready to make a recommendation or how you want to roll it out. If you want to do, just a soft rollout and allow departments to use it. I know, folks have their own materials and stationery. If you want to let it sit out there a little bit longer, or maybe even take this opportunity to do an approval, recommendation for approval in second reading and recommendation for approval. I don't know. I don't know what the response is going to be, countywide with regard to a logo.
I personally like it, and, I'm ready to go with it. I think the committee done an excellent job. And it's just, it's eye-catching and simple and to the point.
Oh, go ahead, Anthony. Have you showed this to other elected officials just to get a feel of what they?
No, other
Okay.
than just putting it on the agenda and it being in the agenda packet. So that's what I was saying, maybe you want to get a little more feedback. I can distribute it countywide and come back to you with some of those comments.
I'm
What,
feeling like Tim,
sorry,
moving forward.
Yeah.
no, I jumped Commissioner
We
Allen.
could, maybe have a soft rollout, maybe get some feedback from other people. It looks great. I would like to have it to go out now, but I think the commissioner is wise to say, let some more people look at it and, get some feedback on it. But it looks great.
Mr. Mason?
I guess for me, what feedback would you be looking for?
I guess
mean,
my
the
only.
hay's in the barn.
Right. So like I think about Knox County, they have it and it's a requirement. So you can use the seal, you can use the logo, there's the packet that's in there. Let me say this, if you're an agency, like you're the sheriff's department or you're EMS, you're gonna have your own seal and you're gonna have your own identifier. So does fleet service and animal control. But if you're doing something to identify yourself as Anderson County, you would use the logo,
Yeah,
or the seal. And, if it's a county vehicle, for a department that doesn't have like an EMS, then it would have the county logo on there, so the public would know this is a county vehicle, or on your card, something like that. So when I said soft rollout, I guess I'm meaning by that, do you want to just make it up to the department and then just it slowly kind of comes into use, and then maybe at some point in the future you say, all right, this is what you need to use, or I don't know.
yeah. And maybe I'm one of 16, but the thing, I might be the only one, but why not just rip the Band-Aid off? And, I mean, because
Yeah.
the county made a commitment. The committee went through the process. We've got this design. There's no better time to start branding this county than starting now. I think we're delaying the inevitable. I for one, if we had to vote on it, I would want to roll it out starting now, and maybe set a target date of effective this date. I mean, all correspondence that's Anderson County government related, or whatever the issue may be, must have this on there. And will there be a point person to ensure that, I mean, because I want to make sure that people understand the seriousness and the importance of keeping the branding consistent. Not messing with the logo, not stretching it, not doing all of these things that make it look different. Do we have someone who's going to kind of oversee that? Not create a position for it, but it's someone who's going to.
I'm pretty sure that falls in the law director's department.
Okay. Well, I guess that
Legal
means more
compliance.
internally. Okay, yeah, I'm good with that. But, no, I just think the committee, y'all did a great job on it, and I love it. This is kind of, I nerd out on stuff like this, so.
Well, I will say
apologize in
that
advance.
Stephanie helps with, so anything website related, she helps with and she understands. So, I mean, we could talk to her, and if she sees someone's email, something coming through and it's stretched, there is a guidebook that discusses those things. You know, I could work on that. I haven't really thought about that, but that's an excellent point. And I was just kidding, Jay.
Chairman Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess, to follow up on what Commissioner Mays was saying, as far as maybe setting a date out in the future at some point to make it final to adopt, I remember we passed something, at one point, we wanted the planning department to maybe order signs that were a certain size, and they just ordered, 1,000 of a smaller size or something. So I'm worried about us just passing and saying effective immediately, and then somebody's ordered, 4,000 widgets with the old logo on it that they're gonna have to throw away, and I don't wanna do that, but I think as long as we probably need to adopt it and make something set in stone, but maybe just push it out into the future a little bit to give a time to phase it in.
Commissioner Allen.
Yeah, if we push it out thank you, if we push it out into the future, would people still have a chance to comment on it, even though, because it's being pushed out there, they can still make comments on it. Maybe we may find some, different ideas about something, but I'm for it. But if we're gonna push it out, what would they do? Not comment on it? Don't have anything to say about it?
Well, I mean, I think everybody's going to have their armchair,
Yeah.
opinions on it. But for me, I just think the logo's the logo, and this is where we're at. At this point, I think it would just be more opinion-based in it, because I mean, this is it, right?
Mhm.
So, I mean, I don't,
Yep.
it's not changing, so, if we said,
Some comments on the mandatory application of it.
yeah, it's part of it.
What correspondence is it gonna be mandatory on? I think Terry hit it on the head. There's a lot of our departments that have seals. Is this something we need to have on our emails, for the footer? Those are the questions I think I would have off the top of my head is what does this have to be on, to be in compliance? And is this mandatory to be on everything we produce, all letterhead? My letterhead is not stationary that I order. I just generate it off our Word and using a template like that. But I think that's some of the questions that I would think of off the top of my head is, is it mandatory? How long, if it's the mandatory date, something in the future? And if you have a departmental type logo, can you still use that on your letterhead and have both? Something like that. I do like the word.
I guess we could approve the logo as it is, and that's what we're going to do. And get the word out, and then
Yeah.
compliance. Commissioner Rivera, do you have any input on this?
Yeah, I think the logo's great, the way how it is. I'd go ahead and, put it out there and tell departments to order it as their need to reorder stationery, things like that. And submit proofs to the mayor, maybe for approval before they get them all printed and stuff like that, in case there is any deviation. But use up whatever supplies they've got on hand right now. And then, maybe by June or July next year, make it mandatory, unless there's some reason to deviate from that.
Good input, good input.
On the pre-logoed groups like the EMS and sheriff, would we have an additional logo on those? Because we're not gonna ask them to change their in-house logo that's on all the vehicles, and so would that be an additional on those vehicles?
I wouldn't think so, but I wouldn't think so.
Just leave them alone as is then? That's what you think is the right way to go about that?
I would think for like on department logo or something like that. Leave the cars the way how they are. You could have a small decal put on the side somewhere on the back fender or something like that, or front quarter panel. You know, if you wanted to put it on there, but, you know, that, you know, let the sheriff department negotiate with her over that. If he wants to do it, then that's one thing. If he doesn't want to do it, that's another. You know, I don't think it'd be necessary, you know, it's not like we're selling sheriff department cars to kids and stuff, you know.
So, I have from Knox County, they have in their brand identity document, they have actual list of departments. So they say when you're referencing Knox County government, Knox County is the preferred way to refer to the county. Knox County government and the county are also acceptable. Then they have the referencing departments that use all of this. So the sheriff's department is not on their list, but they have air quality, benefits, codes, communications, community development, constituent services, election commission, engineering, public works, ethics committee, finance, fire prevention bureau, health department, human resources, information technology, GIS, merit system, parks and rec, public library, procurement, records management, forensic center, retirement, senior services, solid waste, stormwater management, and veteran services. So that's all of theirs that use theirs. So that leaves those official agencies, like EMS with their own, the sheriff's department with their own.
So I want to craft a motion around that.
That's too hard for me.
All you gotta say is whatever she said.
That's the easy way to do it. In accordance with the way Knox County uses theirs, maybe.
Yeah.
How about this? How about you approve it? I can send out the brand guide to whoever wants to go ahead and get started. And then I come back with more of the details on your implementation deadline, to Commissioner Barron's point, then something like this from Knox County with the actual departments listed. What do you think?
I'm good with that.
And you know, it's interesting, they don't have in here, any of the, that I see, the fee offices.
Yeah, I was
So
wondering
that
that-
leaves them, I guess,
Johnny's
to do their
Cars
own
kind of
thing
thing.
as well, so,
I'd like to see it on the assessor, because they're all over the county.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It seems to be pretty consistent across the state, though, and kind of the elected officials kind of have their own
Yeah,
brand and look.
yep.
You go ahead.
I would just like clarification as to which one, which color scheme, because there's several here.
You're allowed, I mean, you can,
Those are
yeah,
all
they're
pretty-
all.
Any of those?
So if someone just wants to do, it's really just the style,
Okay,
and if they can't do orange, you know,
right,
even though vols are popular right now.
right.
But
may not
those
be
are the selections. I think weren't there 4, Commissioner Yeager, or did we end up getting 5 out of that?
Out of that A?
Yeah. I remember we had to pick panels.
Yeah. I think, I would just have to go through here, but I thought it was 5.
I think it's 5 that I see here. So they can choose from any of these 5.
Yes.
I'll try to craft a motion here then. Make,
Motion.
you jump in here. I'll move to approve the Anderson County, Tennessee brand guide, official logo.
Second.
I think that's all I need, because that covers all these pages. You think that's fine?
Sounds good.
I like it too. Okay.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous.
Okay, the next item on my agenda is not an action item, but I'm just giving you an update. Last month, you all approved putting together a working group for recommendation regarding the surplus property we have at Glen Alpine next to the convenience center. So it's still one parcel, even though we had a motion to divide into 2 parcels. I wanted to report to you that the solid waste working group did meet at 5 PM on October 31st in room 118A. This was a published meeting. All members attended, the Solid Waste Chairman, Robert McCamey, Commissioners Vandegrift and Chairman Anderson, Jeff Trabaka, Solid Waste Director, and myself. After a review of the past actions and a lengthy discussion, the working group recommended moving the proposed boundary line for dividing the property into two parcels over 50 feet to give more of a buffer between the operations of the convenience center and that property. In addition, the working group recommended an attempt to access the property from inside the industrial park on Quality Drive instead of the main access that we're using from 441 Norris Freeway. So that effort would entail me speaking with an engineer and then discussing a possible easement with adjacent property owners. So I did meet and discuss the feasibility of that access with an engineer, and if that would be, if the property could be used or was conducive to constructing such an entrance. I don't have word back from the engineer yet. As soon as I do, then per that recommendation from the committee or from the working group, I'll approach adjacent property owners. And so I'd hope to already have that done by operations tonight. I don't. That's why you don't have any documents in front of you. But once I hear back from the engineer and approach the adjacent owner, then I will come back in December with something in writing, with a detailed map, and then the details of how we're going to access the property. And then that would allow, if that ends up going through the approval process, then that would allow Jay to proceed with the drafting of a deed that would be the division of that property. So I just wanted to give you an update. It's still work in progress. I will come back in December. And then the last item, this isn't really an action item, but I just kind of wanted to get some feedback to see. So we have, as you know, from the American nuclear discussion, and let me give out a little map here for you. I'm going to take a couple here. So what you're looking at is a full survey of all the property, 248.92 acres that the county owns. Part of this was the old landfill. Part of it is known as the Poor Farm. Part of it is currently a field that is leased to an individual. I think there's cattle on there now. There were horses for a little while. And then you'll see right in the middle, you'll see State of Tennessee, and that's the American nuclear site. So we know that we have an old resolution passed years ago from County Commission that once remediation was done at the old landfill, we would look at turning that property into a nature preserve or trails or something along those lines. We've got State of Tennessee cleaning up with their commitment to clean up American nuclear once and for all, and that's great news. So what I wanted to discuss with you is I drew on your map just a yellow highlighter to show the area that I'm talking about. That's the end of our property, and it's really, nothing else is really there at that end of the property. And what I'm wondering, I'm not asking for, yes, let's move the convenience center. I just wanted to get your input and see if you thought there was merit to me looking at moving the recycling center. And creating a better operation down at this end. And so that way, if you did do something with the property and you did do a park, you don't have our hideous recycling center right smack in the middle of whatever we would want to do. The other benefit would be there is a hill, and you could really buffer the visibility of a new recycling operation. And then you could create something that is actually organized and, you know, you have delineation from the different recyclables. You could put a building back there, and it's all kind of over a hill. And I just wanted to get your feedback. If that's something you think, okay, Mayor, that's worth exploring, then I'll go explore it. But I didn't want to invest a lot of time, you know, if you don't think it's an idea that has some merit. I just wanted to get your feedback. And I would take it to Solid Waste Board as well, obviously, if it's something you think is worth exploring.
Commissioner Anderson, or Chairman Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It didn't sound like, according to Jeff, that there's really not anywhere we could ever expand that operation at any of the other convenience centers. There's just not enough
No.
room. It's got to be its own place, pretty much.
Well, and the other thing you have to think about, so we do have, you know, that extra property at Glen Alpine. But the issue is you're having semis coming in and out
Right.
with the tire operations, which is, and then you have all the retailers bringing their tires, and
Right.
there's already a lot of safety issues there. You know, I don't know that would be the right place for that
Right.
on the scenic highway.
But this is basically, I mean, if we were going to move it, this is about the only available
County-owned, yes.
county-owned place.
That would
right
have
now.
enough, and
Anyway.
and I'm sensitive to the community as well. I mean, they don't want to see that operation, and it, you know, it's already county-owned property. It could be moved back kind of out of sight, but also be improved and be something that's nice to drive into.
How close would it be to the firing range?
It's on the
Sure.
opposite side, Commissioner, so,
Okay.
so the firing range.
Yeah, I don't think I'm a little turned around here.
So here's American Nuclear.
Mm-hmm.
The firing range is actually, you've got, I was trying to
You go
see
down
if they
Nature.
they might have written it on there.
It's right as you come in on Nature Lane there.
Yeah, it's on the right.
Behind, American Nuclear. Terry, these two parcels up here at the top are ours too.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The only issue that I would have, and you know, it's totally up to this body, that section out there that we've got leased to the farmer right now, that's the only flat area. If we went with the plan to put ball fields in there at some point, I know you've heard that proposal, that's the only place it could go. There's nowhere else on this property, Blockhouse Valley, that we could put ball fields. And, over there, we certainly can. Maybe we could work them both in, but, there has been some desire, some conversation about, hey, county needs to put some ball fields in somewhere. Most all our ball fields are either school-owned or private athletic, like NAGAT, or, soccer, we have those under lease right now with the city schools. But, that was one thought at one point when we did the concept map, that was listed as ball fields, but they may be able to, get them both in there, but, and I don't even know what the desire of this commission is to even do the park, the nature preserve, or the ball fields at this point, but we do know the one major issue is getting rid of American Nuclear, well underway with that, so that may come about here in the next 4 or 5 years.
Which space do you think you need for this, did you say? I've been looking at this map.
I don't know. I'm not good at the dimensions. I have to see it on, have to have somebody else draw that. So you have to, I mean, yeah, I mean, you have to have enough to, so you have metal and refrigerators, TVs, paint, cans, and then you have to have the semis for, the tires.
Whatever it is, what we have now is way too small.
Yeah.
It is.
And there's no rush on this. I can come back next month and let you ruminate on it, stew on it, wake up at 2 a.m. thinking about where you want your recyclables in Anderson County.
Yeah, I think it's a good
That's when I
idea
do my
to place
best
it over
thinking.
there. It's just where in all those parcels.
So are you asking for,
No, not even approval to, I just wanted to see, is it an idea worth me looking at? And, or are you all absolutely no, Mayor, we don't want anything else over there? And I was just trying to get some, is it worth me spending a little time on it to
I think so,
maybe
'cause
put together just some, maybe a concept plan?
like Jay said, I mean, our current location, it is not, yeah, it's just not, and we're not getting smaller, we're getting bigger.
We are.
And so we've already outgrown it by, 500%, so.
And I like the idea of it being hidden, kind of tucked away somewhere, not such an eyesore. I know there's not a lot on that end of Blockhouse Valley, but it could be.
And Jay, you're saying that parcel 113 and 114 belongs to the county as well?
Yes, sir. We go all the way back to the river.
And I could take it to solid waste too and get their thoughts, and then if they think, yeah, let's look at it, then
And I
maybe
guess,
I'll just,
yeah, how many acres would you think you're going to need?
oh gosh, I mean, not a lot. So I'll get some more details like that and come back to you.
Sounds good. Any other comments?
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, while you're up there.
Yes, sir.
I was at Green Valley last week, and their drains are stopped up.
Okay.
And while I was there, of course, that causes odor and it causes the stuff that people slip on and all that. I've worked on many of these out of state, and they actually, the guy that runs the place, he has sprayers with odor ban that sprays down, and it really helps the smell quite a bit in the summertime.
Okay.
So that was two issues that we talked about there at Green Valley.
Thank you all.
Pans under them, the dumpsters, do they have pans under them? That's probably, we need to start with that right now, just get some pans back under them. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just got a few things for you tonight. Got a donation of a sheriff's vehicle to the city of Norris. Got that in front of you. If you have specific issues, I got Pete Sexton here with the sheriff's department that handles all their surplus property. It's 2011 Crown Vic going to the city of Norris. They have to sign our release agreement.
Motion
So they'll
approved
take
by
all
Chairman
responsibility.
Anderson,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Mays. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous.
Next item I had, there was some discussion, last month's county commission meeting, I think it started during Dr. Parrott's presentation. Commissioner Wandale asked him about how can we get the TCAT, program out into the public, and, Commissioner Allen made a comment, and, What I ask is, you know, maybe we could do an educational piece on ACTV. I talked to Ryan Sutton, he's glad to do that. So if that's something you want, just pass a motion giving them the authority to produce and broadcast an information piece. And they do quite well with these things, and going out there, and when I talked to Ryan about it, I said, hey, just talk to the director out there, talk to some students, talk to some of the instructors, talk about what skills or programs are in demand, and let him do the rest. Just give him a blank canvas, and he'll do a great job with it. But that's the second item. If anybody's interested in that, I'll need a motion to proceed with that.
I'd like to, make that motion.
Okay.
To promote and broadcast the TCAP
Educational piece.
piece.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Allen, do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Barron. Any other discussion? If any of the commissioners have not ever been over to ACTV, and Andy and Ryan Sutton, they do a great job.
They do a great job.
They've got some really good equipment now.
Come a
It's-
long way.
Yeah, they've come a long way. I mean, it's very professional. It's like, and I've said it on Channel 6, 10, and, you know, all that, and they're just as good.
People, I hear it all the time. People in our community say they watch it constantly, and I say, "You're kidding me,"
Yeah.
but they do. It's very popular, especially our meetings and some of the other stuff. I was talking to Andy. He says, "Let me know. Tis the season for the school plays," and so evidently they get called to a lot of schools and to do their plays and things, Christmas plays. But
And, you know, one thing, you can look on YouTube and see that.
yeah,
And see how many views people have actually watched, and it's remarkable how
Super
many
popular.
people watch it.
it's hard to believe when we started that program. Gosh, 07. It was sort of a contentious issue now, and I think the county commission's bought into it 100% now. And I
Yeah.
know our citizens have. They love it.
Yep, I agree.
If Andy could just make the thumbnails with me a little more flattering. He says it's not on purpose, but I don't believe him.
Okay, so we had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Last item I have is the firefighter training facility agreement with the City of Oak Ridge. They've made some changes. I'll go over them quickly had a comment here. I think everybody's got the red line version. What about Norris, Clinton, Oliver Springs, and Rocky Top? Our mission was just to do it for the volunteer fire departments. My thought on that is these cities can do their own MOU or intergovernmental agreement, and that's up to them. They changed, instead of listing them, they wanted the parties. That's no problem with me. The term of the agreement in section 1 there, I had shall, they want may be renewable for an additional 5 years. And if you look, they've limited it to not just the training, they've limited it to the tower. We had in there the fire training facility. So they want to limit it just to that tower. And that's in there, the last whereas clause. Then talked about their fire tower training use policy. That's fine with me. I have no problem with that. Changed a couple things. Instead of listing these volunteer fire departments, they just want them collectively referred to as the parties. Again, section 5, they've referenced their fire department training tower use policy. That's no problem. Then here's the contentious issues that I understand. Anybody go to the fire commission meeting? I think I may need you on this, Nathan. I've got in here, since we were looking at different methods on the fire truck, maybe a bulk purchase, or there's 2 or 3 different resolutions out there. We've not decided how we're going to do that. I've got section 6 that these volunteer agencies must attend the fire commission meetings. Now, this is taken from the original fire truck resolution where they've got to attend those meetings, and we felt like that was needed. Section 7 says, all parties shall respond immediately without delay to all emergency medical calls when requested by the Anderson County Emergency Medical Service as available. I don't have a problem with that. We understand they have priorities to take care of their own citizens inside the city limits of Oak Ridge, and the cities do too, Clinton, Norris, Rocky Top. So if they've got something going on there, that's fine. But if they're free, We need them to help us respond to these EMS calls. That was from the original fire truck resolution. Then the Section 9 talks about the first responder training. That was in the original fire truck resolution. We wanted to capture that and keep it going. What's your thoughts on that, Nathan? You want to continue doing the first responder training? What this says, each of the parties shall require all members to attend first responder training hosted by the Anderson County Emergency Medical Service. That'll be all volunteer agencies, or other comparable training entity, or any other required training requested by the Office of Emergency Management or authorized state entity. Go ahead.
Yeah, as far as us continuing to educate or provide classes to first responder organizations, we will absolutely continue to do that, whether there's a resolution or not. We do the EMR, which is the first responder class, which is about an 80-hour class, but we also already teach EMT Basic at pretty much no cost to our first responder departments, and we're going to continue to do that whether there's a resolution or not. I mean, I have
you're
a
okay
problem.
with
I have a
that?
problem with committing to continue
Well, I
doing that.
appreciate that.
Sure.
I know that's, you've got some
Absolutely.
awesome instructors
Yep.
and a lot of supplies. And
Yes, sir.
It's benefits this community greatly. What we're talking about here is Nathan has been doing this for years. He's been training our first responders from the volunteer fire departments so they can get on the scene. If our ambulance is a little bit behind or tied up like we were talking about before, they can start delivering emergency medical services on the scene, and they're trained and certified at that point. But anyway, I wanted to let you know that's still in there.
Hey, Jay, before you move on.
Yes, sir.
We're talking about first responders. How well equipped are our first responders? Is
So,
that each-
when you compare to an ambulance, it's much less equipment. So really what you start looking at with the first responders, somebody that has started to gain the knowledge to do a better patient assessment to indicate what's going on so they can give an update to the ambulance, or they could just get the ball rolling when you get there. If you think of, hey, you're showing up and you've already got a set of vitals, a history, maybe they've already helped facilitate some treatment. So first responders can't do a lot of hands-on or medication administration. They can't. EMT Basics can't do a whole lot on that regards either. They can start building up some of those things. So really you start to capture that knowledge, patient assessment, and basically getting that indication that there's something wrong here, as opposed to, okay, hey, we can slow the ambulance down because we're not seeing, as something severe here or something like that. So, but when it comes to maybe trauma type stuff, controlling the bleed, that type of stuff, it's very, very useful for them to have that training and to have it, to be able to provide that care before we can get there. And you think about that, you got all these departments that are spread out throughout all the county. Paid departments are spread out all throughout their city. Volunteers are spread out all throughout the community because they're coming from their home. Using those resources can get to a call quicker than the 6 ambulances we have posted covering the entire county and all of Oak Ridge and all of Oliver Springs. So, you get those first responders out there, it's just better patient care because people can get to them sooner than we can because you just look at numbers or strategic, distribution throughout the county.
And that question becomes from a conversation I had with Commissioner Palmer, about what can we do to help our first responders, it's, on the scene first.
Yeah, that combined with our sheriff's deputies, they all go through the academy and they're certified. I think it helps a whole lot getting somebody on the scene, being able to radio back in and let those folks know, hey, this is what we've got, slow down like Nathan said, or hey, this is serious, and start some kind of treatment. It works out well, especially when we're stretched beyond our limits at time on EMS. Any questions on that provision? Okay, they added on the default, section 10, when a party is in default, and I would say that's not complying with their policy, said party may not participate in the use of the city's training tower until compliance is achieved. or you could actually say that applies to sections 7, 8, and 9 also. And then cancellation, they've changed that a little bit. Section 15 says this agreement is subject to cancellation by county commission and/or Oak Ridge City Council with 60 days notice. Then on section 21, they want they want that names and addresses of the chiefs and the mailing addresses of the departments. That's no problem. We've got all those. Any questions on the corrections Ms. Dunn had? She's taken over for Ken Krasinski as their city attorney, and Tammy's been down there, Lord, a long time. And I'm very happy to work with Tammy. She'll be good. But anyway, I don't have a problem with any of these modifications unless somebody's got a question. We just need a motion to approve them, and I'll make the changes and get them in your agenda packet Wednesday.
Commissioner Berry makes a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Allen. Discussion?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
I'll start at the top, at the beginning. The only agency, just to be clear, the only agency that is considered a party that we have purview over would be EMA, correct?
Yes.
So anything, we would not regulate or decide anything as it pertains to the volunteer fire departments?
That's right. It's in this agreement. If they breach it, it's up to Anderson, up to Oak Ridge, whether or
Gotcha.
not they want to allow them on the training facility or the tower.
Okay, that answers I think that answers my second question, is in section 10 under default. When a party is in default, who's making that notice to said party?
That will be Oak
Oak
Ridge.
Ridge. Okay, as it pertains to the training that could cause them to be in default, who is notifying Oak Ridge that they are staying in compliance with coming to fire commission regularly, attending the required training, participation? How are they keeping tabs on that?
Well, there's a couple of ways there. The fire commission chairman right now is Shane Val. He stays on top of this. Also, the fire chiefs of the county have their own meeting. It usually is right after fire commission, and they kind of do peer pressure. Hey, you need to get somebody to these meetings, and believe it or not, it's worked over the years, and we have good participation. So that's how that would probably work. I don't think we'll ever get into the aggressive enforcement of that, but other than just, hey, look, you need to get squared away with Oak Ridge, you need to abide by their training policy, you need to come fire commission, you need to do the first responder. That's the way we've done it very informally in the past.
Gotcha. The last question
Yes, sir.
I have is, I know this, again, we're talking a very small percentage what if, but we get into agreements because things have happened in the past.
Absolutely.
What happens if City Oak Ridge in 60 days or 120 days says, this ain't working out for us? We're getting out of this.
They got the authority to cancel it, as you see. They want that added under section 15.
What about the $273,000 that the county gave?
We gave it to them. I think that would be rare. I think it'd be very remote. As you saw, Chief Solomon was very gracious for that donation of that $270-something thousand, and he's a very good man. I don't think we'll see that, but the answer to your question is yes, they could cancel the agreement.
I misspoke. I do have one more question.
Oh, that's okay.
Why did they change to just the tower and not the facility? And B, what was the response of our volunteer agencies with that change? So you'd mentioned in it, I think
Yeah,
it's,
they want to limit it just to the tower, and I'm taking that from the last whereas clause, if you see there,
yeah,
to use the city's training facilities the way I had it. They want to strike facility and add tower there.
is there is there a facility that's in conjunction with that tower, or is it just the tower?
The way I understand it, they're building a training center, but I know the tower is the first to get started.
And the 273 is only for the tower, not for the facility?
That's what we passed at county commission.
The tower's already there. It just was in a state of disrepair, and so that's what the funds are for. So it's not constructing a new tower.
Okay.
So that's probably why they've limited it, because it's only specifically for, those funds are only specifically for the tower.
That's the way we couched our motion to approve that, was just the tower. So that may be my fault. I expanded it to the training facility. We
Okay.
only want to
So
cover
really
the tower.
our initial intent was tower anyway?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else from anybody?
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes
Thank you
unanimously.
so much. I'll make these changes and get them in your agenda packet. Anything else I can do for you? Appreciate it.
Any new business to come before this committee?
I'll be very brief, Mr. Chairman, but I do want to get on the radar, and I think Nathan, something that I'll probably need to talk with him about too, along with the 911 board, is recognizing dispatchers as first responders. Something I want to at least get on the radar. Just a good example of the difference. Rocky Top experienced this just recent with their fire chief passing away, and then shortly after, a dispatcher passing away. The difference between the two was significant from a financial standpoint for the families that were, of the two that passed, because of the first responder status, where the different policies that they get and the amount that they get if they do pass away while being in service. That's something I'd like this body to think of and to consider, of looking at dispatchers. And again, we can't make that determination, I don't think, but we can at least lobby Nashville to include dispatchers and as a first responder, because of the work, because of the work they do, and B, because of, again, just like that example there in Rocky Top, when you had two that passed away, and Red's family, I mean, it just whatever.
Commissioner Mays, do you want us, you want to add this to the existing state law?
Yeah, and Nathan could probably speak a little more eloquently on it. We talked about this at the 911 meeting.
Let's do a resolution to the General Assembly asking them to consider amending that law to, what are we going to capture there? Dispatchers?
Yeah, I mean, that was really kind of all we discussed.
We probably need to get the correct language, make sure what the designation,
Right.
if it's E911 dispatcher or something. To give a little bit more context, what happened in Rocky Top, the fire chief passed away from COVID. And due to COVID and his line of work and being exposed, triggered a benefit that first responders get. The dispatcher also, the E911 dispatcher, they have also passed from COVID. Although did not have direct interaction with the patient per se, they had direct continuous interaction with the firefighters and the police officers that were out in the field. So it was kind of secondhand. They did not get the benefit, the financial benefit that the chief got, because they did not have the designation of being a first responder. So it would take some legislation, I believe, to recognize them as first responders. Us here at home, I don't know. I mean, we could in name, but not in benefit triggering.
You want me to put that on my to-do list for next month?
That would be great if you could.
Yeah, we need to get those all down to Nashville as soon as possible.
Well, I think we also need to understand what, if any, context of consequences that go along with that. I mean, that's something that we need to I do not fully understand. If we list them at first responders, what are the requirements that
It puts on
we have to
them.
do? But that's,
Yeah,
we
you're
just need
right.
to figure that out as well. I do not
I'll
know
pull the statute
what that
and
is.
send everybody a
I just wanted to put it on the radar for
I think it's a
discussion.
great idea. I think our dispatchers are very, I mean, they're lifesavers, absolutely.
Can I, send you that statute to let you look at it with your eyes?
I would love to. Yes, absolutely.
Commissioner Yeager?
I'm just Googling while you're talking here, but Illinois just, a bill that goes into effect January 1st makes, emergency medical dispatchers first responders. So there is, looks like there might be some interest throughout the nation
Yeah.
that we might,
Alabama just did
do
it.
they? Okay.
It's starting to,
This might gain some momentum, so that
Right.
might be a good time to do this.
Yeah, I agree.
I can't see anybody voting against it, really, but, you know, somebody will attach a physical note on it.
Do you need a motion to carry
Now,
forward?
I'll just bring it back, this operation's next month, okay?
Okay.
works for me.
Any other new business? Any old business come before this committee? You'll have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you very much.